Hi, and welcome to the Coaches Collab. I am Melissa Knievel-Natanson, and this is where we have real talk about real pets and our real reasons for becoming certified holistic pet health coaches. It's been a month, and boy, I'm glad to be back. I was visiting some family out of the country, and holistic pet health coaches have challenges with their own little pumpkins as well, and mine has had some big ones in the past few weeks, but it's very important that we talk about the value of holistic pet health coaching. And I have one of the best here to help me explain that, Kat Johnston. Welcome, Kat.
Hello, everybody.
How are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm glad to be here. This is a well overdue topic. So yes.
It is. Well, one of the challenges that we are facing sometimes as certified holistic pet health coaches is what we can do and what our value is. We've got a very strong background in functional medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, environmental factors, and just looking at the diet and nutritional aspects of what might be going on with your pet and how we can support them. Here's where Kat comes in. She's got a foot in both worlds. She's a holistic pet health coach and she's a licensed vet tech. So she has a very interesting perspective on what we do. And there's less than 200 certified holistic pet health coaches in the US right now. We're a very specialized group and we offer a very special set of specialized knowledge. So Kat, tell me a little bit about how you feel about our education in regards to you being a vet tech too. How do they complement each other?
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of been in my own holistic journey for myself. And so trying to wipe away all of the things that I learned in, just regular veterinary medicine was a little hard for me. It took, it's been about 15 years now. And just seeing the similarities with humans, it was like, why wasn't I seeing this a long time ago with all this holistic medicine? And the idea that I can bring it to my fur babies as well was super important, and connecting that was just amazing. And I'm super glad that I took this journey, even though it's been a long time coming for sure.
I'm glad you did too. Your knowledge base is incredible. What were some of the key things that you noticed when you were on your own holistic journey? And this is Kat's website, Positive Mom Wellness. Notice the pause. What were some of the most unique things that you noticed when you were starting to get into integrative and holistic support?
So right off the bat, I can tell you, and we always talk about, nutrition as being key factor. That was probably the biggest click for me because, when we are in veterinary tech school or in veterinary medicine school, you don't get a whole lot on nutrition in general, just knowledge. And seeing, when you're in the vet world, you have certain companies come in and kind of coax you and tell you what they know about their products, but they don't really know about the food and wellness part of it. They just don't know. They know the ingredients and things, but they don't know really how it really benefits your pet. And that was like the biggest shock to me, I guess. And the thing mostly that does not align with, the regular vet world and the holistic world, that was the biggest difference for me, I would have to say, was definitely nutrition.
Why do you think it is that we just continue, our ultimate goal is to work with vets. Vets are wonderful. We need our vets, but it seems like there's a real block when it comes to the nutrition, and that there's this, stick your heels in, let's go with the prescription diets. And you happen to teach dog nutrition and canine nutrition at a local college. So where's the disconnect, do you think, Kat? I mean, you're starting to teach other vet techs the true value of nutrition.
Yeah, so I can definitely say that it is mostly the influence of, of those people that are coming in from the companies, because vets are so busy. They are getting their continuing education when they need. They are going to go to nutrition classes when they go to the conferences and things like that. And I would say a small handful do get that extra knowledge. I'm seeing it, sprinkling in here and there. However, what their knowledge is what the companies are telling them. And so they don't have the time to go and look at all of these nutritional reports that are coming up, and telling us, hey, we do not need to feed this, or cats don't need that, and things like that. And so they're not really getting that knowledge, even though it really is kind of necessary. We've seen it, right, in the holistic world, but they just don't have the time. They don't have the extra knowledge that they should be gaining throughout the learning process. And that is actually a really good way for us to come in, because we learn about all of the nutrients and things like that. And I've even learned it with my students at the college. They're coming in. Some of them already work in the vet field, and they had no idea that some of the kibble that we talk about contains some of the things that it does, or it doesn't help for some of the things, or that it gets overly processed, or just et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's just so many different things that they have not learned. And they're just going off what the veterinary offices are telling them. Hey, we have our stock full of all of the prescription diets, and our back is full of all the kibble and things that are back there. But really, they have no idea what's going on in there until a representative comes in and tells them. So, they just don't have the time to do the extra like we do. So,
it's always kind of surprising to me after the continued amount of research comes out about how nutrition literally sets the foundation for health, that there seems to be a block in both human and veterinary medicine when it comes to nutrition. Why is it that we have to go outside of generalized medicine, whether for humans or vets, to really get a good nutritional foundation? That still is just, I feel like we just need to catch up,
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think, with veterinarians, once one thing gets a stigma about it, then it just overflows into all the veterinary, aspects throughout the whole world, nation, actually not world, but nation for sure. About, we've heard about things like raw diets and home cooked diets and things like that. And it just gets the stigma for some reason without even looking into it and actually, acquiring the knowledge that they need about it. And it's, based off one study that might be weak or something like that. They just don't have all of the knowledge that is needed to gather all about this, specific diet or something like that. So.
Well, and that's a really good point. And I want to go back to a point that you made before as well, about vets just not having time. And of course, this is not at all a bash on vets. Would we absolutely love them to be more open to integrative approaches? Absolutely, because that's really where we come in as far as the integrative approach. They don't have time to know every in and out of every supplement or every nutritional protocol that might be going along with, say, kidney disease or liver disease or pancreatitis or Cushing's or diabetes. That's where like you said, they've got reps that come in and say, here's this bag of food that fits this little box. But in our nutritional studies, we have learned differently. And the benefit of that, there's one statistic I give on almost every coach's collab that's staggering to me. There's approximately 80 million pets in this country. Wild guess at how many vets there are? Only about 75 to 80,000 vets. So the amount of vets to the amount of pets in this country is, we're really out of balance. And being a vet is a super, super hard job. And that's where we come in. We want to make their jobs easier. We want to make your lives easier. We want to make your lives and your pets' lives easier. Because when we take an integrative approach, when we're pulling in our knowledge with supplements and nutrition, along with veterinary diagnoses, I feel like it's a recipe for success. What do you think, Kat?
Exactly. And this is where, sometimes vets only have like 15 minutes to see a patient. And that is not long enough for them to, effectively diagnose, effectively give them some sort of treatment plan. So a lot of times what they do is, and like you said, this is no bash on them. It's just the time factor. We've just noticed it's increased or decreased in the actual exam room, but it's increased in volume throughout. and they just don't have that time to kind of dedicate. And I feel like, way back in the day when I used to work, like you could get into an emergency vet that day and they'd be able to treat and get you out of there that day and things like that. But now it takes like weeks to get even emergency appointments, and it's
Right.
absolutely
Right.
ridiculous.
Vets
But
are packed. Emergency rooms
yeah,
are packed.
so my whole point is when they go in, a lot of times they have their own protocols that they already have in their minds. They're just looking at the symptoms on the paper, briefly doing an exam, of course, but it's not what it used to be. They can't dedicate a lot of the time to the pets that they want to. And a lot of times it ends up being a band-aid, and the pet will have to be brought back in a couple of weeks for either similar symptoms or other symptoms, because the actual root cause is not found and they're not getting to the crux of the problem, which is a huge issue. And we know this. I can't tell you how many times clients are repeat in the time that they're allowed. They are, I guess, able to, in the sense that they're so packed. Like I have so many clients that contact me and say, I can't get into a vet for 2 or 3 weeks. And we're talking about very critical and urgent matters. And it's actually really kind of sad. So
It
um,
is.
I feel like with our holistic, like you were saying, there are so many ways that we can get involved and help ease that pressure off them. And I don't think it's a money factor for vets. They are overworked and they're underpaid, and it's not it's not easy for them. So
No,
we
no.
need to get in there and help these clients and their pets, because I can see the overwhelmingness from both sides, and it's really kind of sad, actually. So,
They spend a lot of time and money in their schooling, and I think if I was in their position, it would be a little hard, sometimes a little bit of a hard pill to swallow if we're like, "Hey, by the way, the prescription bag may not be the best choice for this pet.
mhm.
Here's another option." And I know I've gotten a lot of pushback. I mean, even
Mhm.
in I'll just tell you, my little pumpkin Darla, she keeps me on my toes. She's the reason
Mhm.
I'm here, everyone. Boy, have I had an education with her on top of the incredible education that Dr. Ruth has given us. So I left the country to visit family, and the day after we got to Switzerland, my little pumpkin decided to get pancreatitis. The dog of the canine nutritionist gets pancreatitis, and it's common in the fall. Everyone just heads up, by the way, whole fresh food diets can help this. But she went into kidney failure and had a pancreatic lipase over 1,000, which, if anybody knows, it's a miracle that she's still alive. And I'm glad she was. It was a tough couple of weeks for me. But and as you know, Kat, in pancreatitis, lower fat is generally the way to go. But not a low fat kibble, not a low fat prescription diet, because they contain so many carbs. And guess what? In pancreatitis, new research is showing 2 things. You got to keep it low carb and lower in fat, because carbs spike insulin, which just ticks the pancreas off more. So I had a couple of vets say, "Oh, you have to do this." And I said, "I don't have to. Um,
Mhm.
and here's why." And, I explained to them, "Hey, listen, from a nutritional standpoint, this is how we're going to approach pancreatitis and make it easier for her." And guess what? Her pancreatic enzymes went down 800 points in a week. They're
Oh my
about
goodness.
back to normal.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
So, and I'm once again, this is like it gets to be a hard line, because yes, we want to listen to the vet's recommendation, but um, it's good to have a nutritional background too. And it's good to have a pet health coach in your corner who can give some tips, or say, or like you said, Kat, if we've got stuff we're just not getting to the root of, how can we get to the root of what's really going on? And lots of times a holistic pet health coach can give a suggestion on maybe further testing. Kat, can you give me some examples of what you have seen in clinic that would have really benefited from a holistic pet health coach, and maybe where the pet parent can end up saving money from repeat pet visits with a pet health coach?
Oh, that's gosh, the list is probably long on that. But I would say a lot of the times what I'm seeing mostly now are a lot of just overall skin. So this would include bumps and lumps and cysts and all of that. And then also allergies, which would be included in that. We would also include things like flea problems and lots and lots of fleas this year. And so all of those are so preventable with a great nutritional diet. Home cooked diet is fantastic for all of this. And knowing the right supplements to even just feed on the daily is really helpful as well. And I think that a lot of people forget, that what is going on with our skin is actually just a reflection of what's going on the inside. So we have to know that we have to treat the inside of the body in order to fix that outside. And so when doctors, veterinarians come in and they just give them the creams or the antibiotics and things like that, that's wonderful. But once again, once we find, the holistic pet health coaches might be able to find out what might be causing it or give some testing to help find what's causing it as well. Then we can be able to give them the supplements that they can use, and also to have them use other products that actually might be causing more harm on their inside, right? So we don't like to use a lot of the pesticides and things on the inside, which I'm finding a lot more pet parents now are not really going that direction. They're finding a lot of the negative side effects to some of these things. So trying to give them a lot of more holistic options is so important. And I've found this to be so true. And well, I don't want to really talk too much about it, but like the bumps and lumps end up sometimes being either benign or malignant. But this is also something where you can kind of talk them through, like, okay, you can get this tested and find out what it might be. And if it's something that you're more worried about, then we can talk about options on how to change nutritional value and things like that, and give them supplements to help prevent it from getting worse, or prevent and help them live a longer and healthier life. So
Yeah,
I think those are the most important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also, one thing that you're really good at, I know that a couple of coaches have posted blood work in there, is you're like an expert blood work reader. And that's something that we're trained to do as holistic pet health coaches. And there's been many times that I've caught something in blood work that vets or pet parents didn't, just because I know how to look at one value in regards to another. Well, if this value is elevated, but this value is low, for example. I've had that with several clients where I'm like, hey, go back and check this. And it turns out either to be nothing or it is something. And so how do you feel like that can help? What are some of the conditions where, us being that extra set of eyes when it comes to things like labs or blood work can really help with?
Well, I mean, even all of the diagnostics. So
Right.
sometimes, I mean, we don't diagnose, and I want to be very clear with that. But sometimes just getting an extra set of eyes on diagnostics. This happened the other day with one of my clients, where they were like, well, what do you notice about the x-ray? And I said, well, you should probably look into this area. I can't say what it is, but I think, this looks a little more concerning to me. And things like that, just getting an extra set of eyes on all of the diagnostics. So we're talking x-rays, blood work, ultrasound, and even like some clients will do like dermatology testing and things like that. And I think that all of that is so important, because the veterinarians have such limited time, and a lot of times they're going off of maybe just general results versus like you said, like putting two and two together. Like this value might be high, but this one is low, so that doesn't mean necessarily something, or it might mean something even more. So to
Right.
even look at that is so important. And the fact that we have that knowledge, I don't think people realize, wow, you're a holistic pet health coach. You actually do know that you can look at things like this and have another set of eyes on that. So I think that is really, really valuable. So
Yeah. Well,
agree.
and also the benefit of working with a holistic pet health coach is, we're also a team, and we have a fantastic set of resources. I know that if I'm pretty good at blood work, but if I ever had a question, or I was like, oh, hey, I know you're always there, Kat. for, to get an extra set of eyes. And we have a fantastic group of amazing, amazing people who have so much knowledge and so much background. And a lot of the coaches have a special niche, or they specialize in things. With me, I specialize in IBD, kidney disease, your keys, of course. And I find that our group is really a wonderful source where we can pass around information. We're always learning. Our education never stops. We meet with Dr. Ruth, the wonderful original pet health coach, once a week. And, if there's anything that's super complicated and we can't get to the bottom of it, she's always there too. So having a holistic pet health coach as a resource, I feel like is really kind of invaluable, especially when it comes to, say there's vomiting and diarrhea for one day. Is that an emergency? Maybe, maybe not. If there's blood in it, maybe. If you've got a HPHC on your side, you can ask them. Might save you a vet trip, right?
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And I think you're right. Like having a teamwork sense is so important, especially in the holistic world. Like when we are trying, nobody wants to compete with each other, right? And Dr. Ruth used to be so involved in the veterinary medicine world, and she does a lot with the holistic. So that's another really wonderful tool that we have to use her as well, because it is as wonderful I'd like to think I am at reading blood work. She's like 10 times better, right? So things like that are really super complicated. That is super important, and I love the fact that we do have that resource. And I think that a lot of people just don't know the value of the holistic pet health coach. I think that they just think that we talk about food and things like that all day long. Even though food is like really important, but we do have to have all of it combined, right? And so that's really the most important.
Yeah. We in the holistic pet health group here on Facebook, if you are joining us, we're so happy you're here. We're always here to answer your questions. But one thing that I would like to address is we have had several comments about people saying, well, I've already paid the vet X amount of dollars. I can't afford to pay a holistic pet health coach too. I understand, things are tough for a lot of people, but this is once again where we come in, it's an investment in a pathway to health for your pet. And it truly is. And lots of times meeting with a holistic pet health coach can put you on that path and save you money in the future. We have a lot of people that are coming and asking us for answers, and the quality of our answers is top notch. And so is the quality of our education. And as much as we would like to do this for free all day long, vets won't do it for free, and or medicine doctors wouldn't do it for free. And not that we're on the same level, we're not. Their education is huge, but we are very educated and capable to direct you in a way that's integrative, and putting your pet on the pathway to health, no matter where they're at in their life, whether they're puppies or they're older, is ultimately going to save you money and save money with the vets. I'll give one quick example, and Kat, think about what else you might want to add to that. So I've had a little cutie client in the past that was diagnosed with kidney disease via the vet. So she's an older dog. She had some elevated kidney values, and they weren't too elevated though. So this little one had gone into the vet for 40 days in a row for sub-Q fluids. That starts to add up. And it's hard on the little dog. They get sore. That's hard for them. So I got a hold of the blood work. We had a consult. We went through it. And we started this little one on the crock pet diet. Got our diet going, got some supportive herbs for the kidneys. In addition to, I also explained to her the difference in kidney values and how they should be, and what really gets tested, and how there's extra limits on that. And I want you to talk about that more too, Kat. And I said, they're a little elevated, but in an older dog, they're okay. She's doing fantastic. And she hasn't been back to the vet in 2 months.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
let's talk about that real quick because this is something that I encounter a lot. I don't know if you do, and for all of our pet parents out there, hopefully this will provide you with some more information. Kidney disease, it's a big thing. Uh,
Mhm.
there's a lot going on in the veterinary world. The most important thing for kidneys is a whole fresh food diet. But Kat, let's talk about the values now and how the values, say for instance, for bun and creatinine, the standards at which those were set are different now and why that is.
Yeah. So I'm with Vet World, and I think Dr. Ruth does a way better explanation of this. But when it originally started, the pets were at a different value then, and that's what they took as like the average. And today, as we notice, probably there's a lot going on in a lot of the nutrition and kibble world, and it's changed a lot of the values. And so basically, it goes off, a different value for the pets now. And so what we have to realize is that it's not a hard stick like this might be detrimental to your pet's health. And we have to kind of look at these values in as an overall for all of the blood work and everything else that's going on with the pet and their urine and things like that. So we know that kidney disease is serious. We do definitely take it seriously. There's nothing, I'm not saying that we wouldn't say, oh, don't worry about that, but
Right.
we would still definitely give it a value of how are we going to treat this a little more seriously if it's a different number than the vet's saying, or a little less, intrusive and things like that, that we can give them other things, other supplements to help them work through it. So I think that is like the most important thing, is that people think, oh gosh, kidney disease, kidney failure is, signed, sealed, and delivered, and that's what we have to do, and then they're done. And that's not the truth. And we can definitely extend their life very healthily and happily. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my girl is one of them, and that once again, that's a good point of the value of a holistic pet health coach. So, for example, something Dr. Ruth has told us is that when they made the standard for kidney health in regards to the creatinine and the bun, dogs are eating much less protein, and or it's tested from kibble fed dogs. They're on 30 to 40% less protein than a healthy crock pet diet. So creatinine has to do with the amount of protein they're eating. If they're getting more protein, then their creatinine is automatically going to be higher. And I've seen a lot of cases where we have that's jumping to a kidney
yep,
diet or jumping to sub-Q fluids for a slight elevation in creatinine when it really is probably normal for the dog.
right. And then also we are, yes, like you have to take the normal for the actual pet, right? So in the vet world, that sometimes may look differently, to us as we're just reading the values itself, when you actually don't know. And that's why I think the, holistic, or I'm sorry, the home cooked diets and raw diets and all of the alternative diets get like so poo-pooed, because they're thinking, oh well, this is changing all the values, when that's not what it is. It's just the normal for overall, not the normal for the pet. That's a very good point. For sure, we need to remember that.
That is a really good point, and I'm glad that you said that. What are some of the things that you notice and you really like to emphasize in the nutrition class that you teach? So just to clarify, you're teaching up and coming vet techs, right?
Yes, vet
That's
assistants.
so
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah. So I do, I guess the biggest takeaway is I want them to start thinking about the value of pet nutrition in itself. So when it was originally set up, when I was reading the course itself, it was just the basics, like what the pets need as nutrients, how much they're supposed to be fed. And then as I was reading more, when I started teaching it on my own, I was really starting to get involved in how marketing is, and how we're a little bit more deceived. I know you and I have talked about like how they split up ingredients throughout the package. Yeah,
Fractioning.
exactly. So they split up ingredients throughout the package to make it seem like they're not higher in weight, so they're not higher in the ingredient list and things
Like
like that.
carbohydrates, for example.
Exactly. And so teaching little things like that, putting little nuggets in their ear. The problem is some of the students already work in the vet field. And so it's harder for them, like it was for me originally, to make that switch, because you're automatically, you're going in thinking, oh, well, kibble can't be that bad. They're feeding it to every dog and cat in America, right? So to get them to switch is so hard. But giving them little nuggets here and there, I think we start to kind of, put it in their ear. Oh, maybe this isn't the best. And all I'm asking is, if they are going to do kibble or, something for everybody across the nation, not kibble, but some food across the nation, is that they make it safe and they make it nutritious for everybody. And to not poo poo things like, the home cooked diets or, things like that. So we have to make sure that we stay on that radar. And so that is my goal. And it's only 16 students, up to 16 students every semester. But that is my hope and goal, to get them to, change their mind about how the pet food industry is right now, and how we can do better. We can do better for sure.
You can do better.
Yeah.
Well, we're rooting for you, Kat, and go Kat. We're proud of you. Like, you're getting it done, and we appreciate all your hard work. Okay, so here's my question then.
Mhm.
I've been at the vet's office a lot lately, and luckily I have an integrative vet, but I feel like even with that, there's so many people that are like, yes, the top 3, I won't name them, the prescription diets, I call them, those that shall not be named. They're not on display there, but she still got them around. And as I was sitting in the waiting room, there was a person that came in, and he had a can of one of those top 3 that shall not be named prescription diets in his hand, and said, "This is great. This stuff works amazing." I was melting. My husband actually, he said, don't you say a thing. And I was like, okay, breathe. So, Kat, help us. So why does this stuff work temporarily? I'm going to say temporarily because I am, but help us out there. I mean, it can work. I feel like it can be a Band-Aid. Help us out here why those prescription diets sometimes make things a little better at first.
Okay, so the secret is a lot of these kibble diets, these prescription diets, they actually have a lot of the supplements that we as holistic pet health coaches recommend inside there somewhere. So if you read the entire ingredient list, it's probably near the bottom, because it's not usually one of the heavier, ingredients or anything like that, or it's not going to be one of the more important ones. But if you look at the rest of the ingredients, it's usually comparable to just a regular old kibble. And then they slip in 1 or 2 or 3 little supplements that we end up recommending automatically anyways. So that would be my number one reason why it seems to work, because there are those little supplements or vitamins, extra vitamins sometimes. And that would be the reason, but it's not really, it's not going to work in the long run, right? We see that because.
But I think it's, they're mostly consist of hydrolyzed protein. And in my opinion, that can smooth things out, but it's very, very temporary, and hydrolyzed protein, for anybody who's listening, that's where they take the protein and they make it unrecognizable to the body. So it's still protein. Did I get that right, Kat?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But so they might have hydrolyzed soy protein in there. Soy is not fantastic for doggies, but or kitties, but they hydrolyze it, so it's not really recognizable to the gut and the immune system. So sometimes dogs or kitties that are having skin issues will get put on a prescription diet of a hydrolyzed protein, but the carbohydrate content and the synthetic vitamins that they add eventually start to take their toll. And kitties and doggies, neither one really have especially cats don't have a biological need for carbohydrates. So when you see grain or cornmeal, or help me out here, Kat, you're the nutritional teacher.
Cornstarch, corn is, they have, a lot of even the legumes now that they're adding in, and some of the peas and chickpeas and things like that they're just adding everything and anything that they can think of that would be in lieu of, but it's all kind of the same right now. And lots of soy, and lots of corn.
There's lots of soy and lots of corn, and because they're cheap.
Right, exactly.
They're very expensive foods, and they have really cheap ingredients. And I think foods like the Crock Pet or other homemade diets, you can find just as economically. What do you feed your little pumpkins, Kat? Tell me about your household.
So right now I have two dogs that are on crock pet diets right now, and they both had, their Glacier Peaks testing done so we could see what their sensitivities were. And so they are on separate diets right now because, you can never get the ones that are the same
Right.
ones, right? So that never works out that way. But they are, and I do the rotation as well. And so far so good. And they're doing wonderfully. They're young though. And so we don't have a lot, knock on wood, of issues right now. Mostly theirs were skin with, the fleas and things like that. We had a really bad issue with that, but
I've heard that the fleas in the South, cats in Texas,
yes,
have just been brutal.
they're so bad this year. They're awful.
And
But
even in
we've
Southern
been able to
California.
contain it. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, I was going to say we've been able to contain it. Our
Yeah.
one dog, I don't even think he has had any reaction at all. And then our other dog, we started using things like the amber necklace and things, and that has been able to ward them off too. So I think it is still, they're still young, and I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with anything for for a while, but we're prepared for that as well. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
coming from the vet tech world and speaking of fleas, can you tell us why we as integrative and holistic pet health coaches would caution against using a monthly, um, you know, oral flea or tick medication, or even a topical? There's some pretty heavy duty ones at the vet's office. And I know in the South, it's tough. How do you like to tackle flea and tick in tough areas in heartworm?
So it's a pretty hard topic for a lot of people because a lot of times they only see the prescriptions working because they aren't doing all of the things that we suggest. They're trying one here, one there, and instead of doing all of it that we suggest. And then it ends up being, quite expensive. Number one, you can see that these flea and tick products are so expensive, and they claim to work and things like that. But what they're doing they're pesticides, a lot of them. So you're just feeding your dogs and cats sometimes pesticides or topically as well. And also these fleas are then mutating and they're becoming worse. So that's why a lot of the times we're seeing worse problems, and especially in the South and things like that. But also I do see on a regular clients or pet parents that come and they have um, reactions, a lot of reactions, especially there's collars that I won't name, and there's specific, pills that I won't name, but they definitely have reactions to it. And it's actually awful. And I
It
hate
is.
seeing that. So,
It's
um,
awful.
but to the point of, so I do the crockpot diet. I think it has done a lot of benefit for that as well. But
And the
also
garlic in there, the garlic in there helps.
garlic. And then I do the amber necklaces as well. And we do, if we have I use a lot of stuff outside my house as well, like Wonderside or things like that to keep them away. But I don't really use a whole lot more than that. And we've been a little more fortunate, I'd have to say, than some people. But it's really kind of sad, to see how many are coming in saying it's so bad out there. What can I get? What can I use? And
Yeah, that's
it's
tough. Well, and healthy pets are naturally more resistant to
right.
these fleas and ticks and heartworms. So, right diet, adding garlic, it is not toxic the way holistic pet health
Oh,
goes. You can add fresh garlic. You can even kind of double it up during flea season. And you're right. I have so many people that are just struggling so hard with fleas, and often we have to treat the environment and treat the pet with a natural spray. And there's also the natural collars, like the amber collars. If anybody is interested in a Glacier Peaks food intolerance and environmental stress test, those are available on Dr. Ruth Roberts' website, also through Cat and I. If you would like to book with Kat and have more questions for Kat, her website is included in the comments. I'll show it again just in case. She is positivemomwellness.com. So that is available. There's also a link in the comments to all of our holistic pet health coaches so that we can help you with all of these different kinds of questions like flea and tick, like diet, kidney, liver, whatever you've got going on.
right. Exactly.
Probably got an integrative or holistic support for it. Like Kat said, we don't diagnose, but we can certainly support, and we can certainly help you find clues to get to the bottom of what might be going on with your little pumpkins. Kat, what else? Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go to my favorite part? On what you think people should know about holistic pet health coaches, or you in particular?
I just think that, even being alongside people that have never been in the vet tech world, it's been so valuable to me to see other perspectives. And I think that that is truly, when we use our team effort, it's truly amazing to know that we are such at a level as holistic pet health coaches that, a lot of people come to us for the advice and for the help, and probably don't understand the value quite yet. But when you're working with each other side by side in teamwork, the knowledge is like overflowing with just, all of us working with each other. And they're also, just individualized. Some people just are so much better at certain things, like cats in general, or, something like that, where it's just like, that may not be my niche, but I get it. And I like that. And I respect that. And I think that there's so much value in finding how to find, a holistic pet health coach, and just changing the whole nutrition to start, and just changing your whole lifestyle to help your pet just live a longer and healthier life. It's really kind of neat.
Last question. How did you find Dr. Ruth? When did the light bulb go off that said, I want to do this?
So that's so funny, because I think I was honestly just scrolling on Instagram, and I just started following a bunch of holistic pets or vets and holistic pages and things like that in vet medicine. So I already, do this on the human side, but then I was like, all right, let's check out this, the vet side, and see what the similarities and differences are. And it's amazing, because now I don't have to go run to the store every time my dog, has a bout of diarrhea. I know I have things on hand that I can just go get and see if it works. And, if things like that, where I can just like, oh, I have this, knowledge underneath my, my little window here, and I can kind of go seek that. But then when I started looking into it more, I was like, I want to know more. I want to know if there's other things that I can learn. And sure enough, I mean, there were a lot of things that we all learned, and I didn't know anything about traditional Chinese medicine at all. I didn't know anything about some of the other holistic medicine at all. Like I learned a lot of it through this course, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. The amount of knowledge that we get through the course, of course, yes. But like you said earlier, we are still getting, like, there's not a day that goes by where I am not like researching and finding out something new in the holistic world, or just in general in the vet world as well, that is so applicable to everyday life. And it is something that we need, to have around, because a lot of people don't even know how to research this. This is why they come to us. They want people to do that for them. So if we have that in our back pocket, that's really what we need to utilize. So, and
beautiful.
yeah,
And
Dr. Ruth, I mean, you just follow her and you listen to her, and her knowledge is just pouring. Like, she just always has something so knowledgeable.
Yeah, she always has an answer.
Exactly. And it's
she really does.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky to have found this group and been in this course. And you're right. And coming from you, that's such a huge compliment and testimony to this program, because you are a licensed veterinary technician and you have so much education on top of that. I find a lot with my clients, and I'm sure you do too, in all of the things that I have been through with Darla. I just remember feeling so alone and so hopeless with so much of it. And I just didn't know where to turn. And the reason I started doing this is because I want to be the guide that I didn't have when I was going through all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and my things are little. If my pets were having, severe issues, I can guarantee you I would want something like that on my side. There's no doubt about it. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, if any of you listening, if you are interested in becoming a holistic pet health coach, or if any of this resonates with you, there are links in the comments to an upcoming, I should say, seminar or workshop where you can speak with the one and only Dr. Ruth Roberts and find out more about what it takes to be a holistic pet health coach. It's not easy, but it is so, so, so rewarding. So on with my favorite part of the show. And after a month, I still don't have it, y'all, but we're going to do it anyways. Time for pet perks and pet peeves. Okay, so pet perks is your top 3 favorite things that you can't live without and are just like a beauty to the pet health world.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, I'll explain pet peeves while you think about it. Pet peeves are if you could wave a magic wand and just get them off the face of the planet. That would be that. Yeah. So we can start with either one first.
So, oh gosh. Why don't you go first and maybe I'll feed off. Yeah.
I get to go now?
Yeah.
Boy, I have so many.
Feed off you, I think, because I have a lot, but mine are not maybe related to the.
One of my pet perks right now is traditional Chinese veterinary medicine. I don't know what I would do without it. It is a beast. I'm so glad I'm learning it, but it has pulled my little pumpkin out of a situation that I didn't think she could get out of. So there's that. One of my pet perks being in this is integrative vets. I'm vets like Ruth. I don't know what I would do without them.
I'm jealous. I don't have one out here.
Yeah. And of course, feeding whole fresh food. I mean, all of my pets, I have 2 kitties and a doggy. All of them are going to be 15 in November. Oh, wow. And I know I'm going to have a real hard year and hopefully not for 5 to 10 more years. That's a long time for a kitty. But they're all doing great. And I've had multiple vets tell me, like, for example, if it wasn't for you, Darla would already be gone. So I'm grateful for that. Let's see here. You want me to do pet peeves too?
No, that's okay. So my pet perks, I really like that I have the entire database of all of the supplements that we can utilize. I don't know about you, but I got really anal about it, and I kind of like color coordinated with all of the diseases and things like that. And so I can just turn the page and be like, all right, I would do this one for this one. I wouldn't do this one for this one, and go on. And
yeah.
I had to do that for myself. That is like a huge pet perk for me now, especially knowing all of the things that a pet could potentially go through. And then the other thing is having the knowledge of the crock pet diet, the actual diets themselves. I think that is a huge pet perk, knowing. So that kind of goes, I guess, with the traditional Chinese medicine or like the elements that we talk about. So knowing what to feed your pet, depending on what element they most identify with, is really helpful too. I've noticed a huge difference in my own dogs because they're 2 different, different personalities. So that's been a huge pet perk as well. And I think another one would definitely be just Dr. Ruth. Sorry. So she's just like a huge pet perk for me. And
she's a big perk. She's not a big person. That's not what I mean, but it's a big perk.
No, but the reason why, and I think I wanted to mention this a little earlier and I just didn't, was that I thought that there were going to be a lot more licensed vet technicians and veterinarians that are interested in this whole program. And I can see why there'd be a little pushback because they're not comfortable yet. And knowing that Dr. Ruth has had so much experience underneath, her belt and things like that has been so valuable to me. So yes, her knowledge, but also the fact that she's alongside with me in this journey of the vet medicine world. So that would be definitely my third pet perk. For sure.
That is. It's incredible. It's incredible. Our resources are incredible.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Should we do pet peeves?
All right. Well,
so some answers that I've gotten before, just for example, and I think these are like universal. Prescription diets.
Yes. I mean, number one.
I think that makes 13 coaches
Yeah.
now that have been on the collab. That's on every single one. So anybody that's listening, take note. Prescription diets are probably our top pet peeve.
Yeah. Well, they're also overpriced. They're for the value of what you get inside of the food. Even if it was good food, it would be way overpriced anyways for the ingredients themselves. So
Yeah.
that's just it's inexcusable.
So maybe pull one from your vet tech world and I mean, I know that's kind of like insider
Hmm.
information, but what's a pet peeve that you have when you're like, oh gosh, I wish we just did this way instead?
Oh gosh. Well, I can honestly tell you, I mean, I work on the daily with, pet parents, and I can say that um, if I could just give them a little bit more insight on like flea and tick products, just in general, it's just like, I hate that I have to go along with it because I don't have any other choice in the one job that I have. And it's just like, I would sit there and even just try to do something more holistic, like Wondercide. If
Right,
they were,
right.
if
Yeah,
they give me a hint about it, like if they were like, I don't really like to use pesticides. And I'm like, okay, good. Let me talk about this. Then I can totally get
right.
into it. But that's my biggest pet peeve is because they've been so used to it that it's really kind of hard. So that would
Yeah.
definitely be up there for sure.
Well, Dr. Ruth is blazing a trail, and her students are blazing a trail as well. And it's not easy, but we are
Mhm.
jumping those hurdles and we're breaking down the walls. Um, and once again, I want to reiterate, I hope that everyone listening knows that we want to work with vets. We're excited to work with them. An integrative approach is ultimately the best for our little pumpkins. Is it tough? Do you find? I was just wondering. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, so I was going to ask about it. Um, I have a hard time with the numerous injection advertisements, the Cytopoints, the Aquels, the Librellas. Um,
Well, the biggest thing to me, I'm so glad that I'm not actually in the office now because if I were to see things now, I have a totally different
mhm,
viewpoint. Because a lot of the times I won't name certain ones, but they seem to act like miracles, and then they don't understand the consequences, like we have seen with certain ones as of lately, even, which is super concerning for me because people just go in and they see, oh, this is just the most wonderful thing in the entire world, and now we're seeing the side effects of them. Even and I thought they would have been more long term, but some of them are even short term. So that's scary to me.
it is
I
scary.
You know what, that is adding to my pet peeve list because I don't. I never used to question, when people would come in with this miracle drug or something like that, because clients nowadays, they just want a fix. They want that quick fix too. And so seeing things like that are just so quick fix to them when they don't realize the implications of them later on in life is, I mean, it's almost deceiving. And I know it's not the vets. It's not the vets that are saying this, but we just don't have the money and the resources to do a lot of testing on pets nowadays, and that is probably up there with my pet peeves because I wish that we could do more testing and studies to find out more about some of just even nutrition, but also like some of these other miracle drugs that come out, and they're like, oh, but that saved my pet, or my pet isn't itching anymore. And it's like, yeah, but what is it doing in the long term, right? So we
Correct.
kind of have to
We
take a
just
step
don't
back.
know enough about some of these that contain monoclonal antibodies to know.
Exactly. Exactly. And you're not going to know, especially in the pet world, like, because they're not
Right.
going to put money for that yet. I mean, there's no money in it. So that's sad.
Yet another reason, if anybody has questions on this kind of stuff, another wonderful reason, come to our holistic Facebook group. Come and ask me. Come and ask Kat. Her link is in there. Kat, you have just been a wealth of information, and I have really enjoyed our conversation. I hope everyone listening today did as well. You can catch us on replay if you couldn't watch the whole thing live, and we certainly appreciate your time. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up for today, Kat?
Um, just to remind people, like, this isn't a bash on vets, and it doesn't mean don't go to them at all. That
Right.
we are there to support you, to help you. We are there to kind of help, like you said, integrate with a medicine, supplements, like things that we can do, and food, and all of the things that help your pet keep them as healthy as possible. So don't think that this is like a bash on the vet world at all. I want to change vet techs and vet assistants and veterinarians' minds as much as possible on the holistic health as well. And but I'm only one person, so if you are a licensed vet tech or an RVT or anything out there that really is interested, I'm telling you, this is going to change your life for sure.
Yes, Kat. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm so
it's
glad
true.
you said that.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
so good.
never
I mean,
thought
it's
that,
really a valuable education, and I have a feeling we're going to get more vet techs coming in.
I hope so. I mean, and I thought there would be more, but it's
They're
a
coming.
slow transition. So let's get them out there.
Yeah, we're gonna put it out to the universe. They're coming.
Yes.
They're on their way. They're on their way.
Exactly.
Well, thanks again, Kat, for all of your time today. So appreciate it. This was a wonderful conversation. There's links in the comments if anybody has any other questions. I love your positive mom wellness. Don't forget to visit Kat's website. And because I always say, as we say goodbye, positive vibes. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.